didn't you say anything when 1,200 people were massacred to death in the most brutal, barbaric manner in this awful terror attack by Hamas, and nearly 7,000 more were wounded, some of them catastrophically and irreparably? Why did that not compel you to say anything?
Well, first and foremost, Israel's a foreign country, so typically I talk about topics that have to do with America. Secondly, you're only quoting my Twitter feed. I'm also on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram. I also had a daily podcast in which I did respond directly about what happened and called the events horrific multiple times, said what Hamas did was absolutely horrific. So you're using a snapshot of my Twitter feed where you're acknowledging that I didn't tweet for days to suggest that I didn't have anything to say about what had happened. Now, to be clear, I am consistent on all matters.
Okay, so if she's going to say that she didn't say anything on Twitter, she said something on other platforms. Your Twitter is your official statement. Everyone knows this. You know, you don't make official statements on Instagram. You make, I would say, 90% of people in news will make their big statements on X. So when they're talking about a big news topic, they'll talk about it on X. They're not going to go ahead and, post an Instagram story. It's mainly going to be on X. So, okay, it's beautiful that she sort of acknowledged it. But at the end of the day, Twitter is the place where you should be acknowledging it. So it isn't unfair of peers to, sort of bring that up.
I do not want America involved whatsoever in anything that is happening in Israel. I don't want my dollars sent over to Israel. We should not be supporting Israel. Obviously, Thomas Massey has done a lot of work showing how it doesn't even make economic sense that we have so much debt and yet we're sending money over to support Israel. And the biggest issue, by the way, that I have with Israel in talking about them being above reproach is the fact that they are supplying the arms to murder Christians.
This is utter bullshit. So when you're going to talk about Israel killing Christians, Israel is the most tolerant most tolerant country in the entire region by far, not even close. They tolerate Christians, Arabs, whatever you want to be, Druze, Muslims, all this stuff, right? And all the other Muslim countries, if you walked into Gaza, you're a Christian. There's a good chance. You walked into Bethlehem, you're a Christian. There's a good chance they'll just kill you. In a lot of these Muslim countries, you look at the ethnic cleansing of not just Jews, but a lot of Christians. You look at Egypt, Coptic Christians were just like decimated out of Egypt. So when you're going to talk about human rights in these places and the way people persecute Christians, if you talk about Israel, that's anti-Semitism, because you're excluding the fact that all these other countries are way, way worse, and Israel is extremely tolerant towards Christians.
Okay. In Armenia, the oldest Christian country in the world, and yet nobody talks about that. For whatever reason, it seems to be the circumstance that when Jewish people die in Israel, it's wall-to-wall coverage. But when Christians die all over the world, nobody talks about it. Everyone wants to correlate everything to World War II. Everyone wants to talk about Adolf Hitler, and rightfully so, he was a horrific person. But nobody wants to talk about Henryk Yagoda.
Nobody wants to talk about Adolf Hitler. You're the only one talking about Adolf Hitler.
Right? Nobody wants to talk about the Bolsheviks. Nobody wants to talk about the Christian Holocaust. I am tired of the media, exhausted of the media not speaking about what is happening to Christians all around the world.
Now, I do agree that Christians, especially white Christians, are getting under a lot of persecution in recent years, and it is becoming sort of allowed to attack Christians in general. That is a tragedy and that is terrible, but negating one person's tragedy by saying, oh, you didn't acknowledge mine, is not going anywhere. You're basically just saying, she's blaming the Jews for the fact that Christian deaths weren't covered. Like the Jews are in control of it in some manner. She has a lot of hatred towards Jews, obviously.
And it is especially horrific while at the exact same time that it is happening, the slaughter of Christians in Armenia, the arms being supplied by Israel, that the media turns the other way and says, oh, okay, but what about what's happening in Israel? So you know what I'm asking for? Actual equality, okay? Because it seems like this is like a special category, the special relationship that we have. I'm a Christian first, okay? And so my concerns are going to be with what's happening to Christians all around the world, because it is us. We are the #1 most persecuted religion in the world. And all Christians watching this need to realize the time is now to start speaking up, because we have been silenced about the things that are happening to us for a very long time in the media.
In your Bible, it says those who curse the Jews will be cursed and those who bless the Jews will be blessed. So if you're a Christian, you should be supporting Jews and you should be supporting the chosen people, Israel, the chosen people in the Holy Land. In your Bible, it says those who curse the Jews will be cursed and those who bless the Jews will be blessed. So you should be supporting the chosen people, Israel. In your own Bible, if you're a Christian, it literally says that those who bless the Jewish people will be blessed and those who curse the Jewish people will be cursed. That is a statement in your Bible. And so if you want to say that you're a Christian first, then you should be supporting the chosen people, the Jewish people in the Holy Land. And actually, Jesus, or Jesus, was a Jew. And so the idea that you have this sort of like crazy anti-Semitism, or you're not supporting Israel because you're Christian first. You're not supporting Israel because you're Christian first. That's an oxymoron. That doesn't make any sense. That you should be supporting Israel because you're a Christian first.
Media is very clearly not our friend. When there is wall-to-wall coverage of Christians being killed in Armenia, Christians being killed in Nigeria, and the treatment of Christians in America and all across the globe today, then you ask me if I will use my platform and I will use my voice to speak about what's happening in Israel. How about that?
Okay. I think that's a perfectly reasonable point to make. The final question I'll ask you on this issue of the Daily Wire centers around the Christ is King, because it had long been a core slogan of people like Nick Fuentes and other, for want of a better phrase, white supremacists, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them. The Daily Wire co-founder Jeremy Boring said on X, how is innately a murder weapon, saying,
Believe it is wrong, then they will stop supporting the Daily Wire. I can't speak on behalf of
Fuentes, who is a Holocaust denier, supported you in.
I was at PragerU. Dennis Prager, Marissa Straight run that company. Marissa Straight is a former IDF soldier. That woman treated me like gold. We never had any issues whatsoever. They were wonderful to me. So I genuinely don't know the context of where or why he said that, but I'm just acknowledging that he said the word filth and that I used the word filth to describe Rabbi Shmuley, who you have had on this show. And I just want to make it clear to everyone watching that Rabbi Shmuley is in fact a piece of filth.
Right, but you would not support a full-fledged war against the Jews.
No, no. Or any, by the way, I also would not support a full-fledged war against Muslims. I'm not supporting a full-fledged war against Christians. A mental facility because he thought every no. Describe Jewish people as a whole as market has a.
Fuentes, who is a Holocaust denier, supported you in what he said was your full-fledged war against the Jews. He said, this is the face of a total Jewish defeat. We effing got your back, Candace. They're filth. What would you say to that?
I would never, ever, ever describe Jewish people as a whole as filth.
Because you don't want to be canceled?
Where or why he said that, but I'm just acknowledging that he said the word filth and that I used the word filth to describe Rabbi Shmuley, who you have had on this show. And I just want to make it clear to everyone watching that Rabbi Shmuley is in fact a piece of filth.
Right, but you would not support a full-fledged war against the Jews.
No, no. Or any, by the way, I also would not support a full-fledged war against Muslims. I'm not supporting a full-fledged war against Christians. And there are some full-fledged wars being launched against Christians.
So do you feel uncomfortable? So,
been.
okay, so a reasonable question is, do you feel uncomfortable about having support from people like Nick Fuentes then?
I think it is a absolute nonsense for people. I have on Twitter alone 5.5 million followers. I think it's pointedly ridiculous when people do this and they find a comment and they go, do you feel uncomfortable about the fact that this person said this? I've had the FBI working with me because there are people that read my tweets and believe that we are in a relationship. I had a person who literally left a mental facility because he thought every single one of my tweets was a sign of love and I was speaking in code to him. But I'm not going to do is respond to this tactic of pretending that I'm somehow responsible for the 20 million followers and that I should be knowing what they are saying on their private platforms or their personal platforms or their public platforms every minute of every day.
She's right. She's right in this instance. You cannot judge someone based on the people that follow her. However, it is a little concerning that a lot of neo-Nazis follow her. That is definitely a concern, and she should be disavowing those people on her platform. She doesn't have to, but it'd be a nice step. You know, if people are calling you an anti-Semite, maybe you want to, you know, clear it up that the people that are sending love messages to you, you don't support them.
That's it. Okay.
Let's turn to, I would say, a less contentious matter, but it's not really. It's Kanye West. I interviewed him at length towards the end of last year. You've been pretty supportive of Ye, formerly Kanye West, even after he tweeted DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. He posted, I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. And you wrote on the social media site Parler, if you're an honest person, you do not think this tweet was anti-Semitic. I mean, I don't know.
Before she even gets into it, this is laughable. It is anti-Semitic. He does hate Jews. Now, the reason why he hates Jews can be because one or two Jews screwed him over. That doesn't give him an excuse for the fact that he does hate Jews. Now, being friends with that person after the fact, I understand that. Fine. You're good friends with them, whatever. Maybe, though, maybe you can go ahead and write, oh, you know, this is why, instead of just saying, oh, an honest person doesn't view that as anti-Semitic. Why don't you just go ahead and say, this is why he said what he said. He's going through a lot right now, whatever. You know, you could have just said that as opposed to right away saying an honest person wouldn't view that as anti-Semitic.
Why would you conclude that? Because it seems to me it's a pretty brazen statement of anti-Semitism. Go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. How else could it possibly how else could it be construed?
Yeah, sure. I can tell you how else it can be construed because this is one of the things that's fascinating. First, I'd like to point to how interesting it is that the entire world came down on Kanye West, canceled him, took away his contracts, made his entire family come out and make statements against him when he tweeted that he was going to go DEFCON 3 on some Jewish people, I think is what he wrote verbatim. And now we fast forward to today when Israel is literally going DEFCON 3 on Palestinians.
He didn't say some, he said on Jewish people.
Okay.
Yeah, she's trying to misquote that. At the end of the day, he said, you know, DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. Now, he might be completely, you know, out of it in a messed up mental state. What she's going to now say is like, oh, it's, you know, it's messed up how he got persecuted by, you know, the Jews, and how basically if you say that about Palestinians, it's not so bad. You don't get canceled. Two wrongs don't make a right. Whatever you want to talk about, at the end of the day, he said what he said. If you can't just straight up condemn it, you have an issue.
Okay, sure. And now we fast forward to today when Israel is literally going DEFCON 3 on Palestinians, and those same media members seem extremely cautious in their language. So the tweet.
Oh, no, they're not exactly going DEFCON 3. Number one, the Jews were actually attacked on October 7th, and they're basically trying to avoid this happening again, and therefore they're trying to eliminate Hamas. And if they didn't want to only eliminate Hamas, why would they drop leaflets for Palestinians to move? Why would they warn them in advance of them bombing? Why would they literally evacuate 1 million people from Rafah in order to avoid civilian casualties? So DEFCON 3 on Palestinians? Not exactly, Candace.
Is actual death, but the actual bombs being dropped, for some reason, real violence is something that the media can get comfortable with. I'd like to point to that because now some time has passed. But to answer your question of how I could have said that statement, obviously, you understand Ye is my friend, and I understood what was happening in his life and what had caused him to say that. He said when he woke up, he was going to go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. He's talking about specific Jewish people in his life that he believed had been taking advantage of him. And he then produced, and for whatever reason, the media was not interested in covering it extensively, a tweet from one of those people, Harley Pasternak, threatening to put him on a Psych 5150 hold and to drug him and so that his visits with his kids wouldn't be the same. How Harley Pasternak has not been chased out of Hollywood after threatening to drug someone and take their kids away is the question that you should be asking.
Yeah, all of this is irrelevant. You want to talk about one Jewish person that was messed up, talk about one Jewish person that was messed up. The guy literally said he loves Hitler. He talked about how he loved the different things that Hitler did. Now, if you're going to say that he was in a messed up mental state, fine. But then just fucking say that. You don't need to go ahead and talk about how, this Jewish person, that Jewish person. Just say he wasn't in the right state of mind.
Asking. Now, I was privy not only to what Harley Pasternak was saying to him, but also to what 4 other happened to be Jewish people were saying to him at that time. And I think what happened is that he snapped and he suddenly wanted to aggressively attack those individuals and basically say that he was tired.
Yeah, but Candace, none of that changes the fact that what he tweeted was clearly anti-Semitic. When you say, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, that is a statement of anti-Semitism, indisputably. The idea that you would be dishonest if you didn't see that for what it was, whatever the circumstances, whatever was going on behind the scenes, for a guy with his massive following, which I think we can agree was indisputably massive at the time, for him to state that in public on a social media platform was a brazen act of disgusting anti-Semitism. And all right,
just to be clear, I didn't tweet on Parler. On my podcast, gave a full statement saying that if we're being honest, you did not think that he was going to go kill some Jewish people. You didn't. And I think that if we're being honest,
well, you said if you're an honest person, you did not think this tweet was anti-Semitic. I did think it was anti-Semitic. Everybody did.
Okay.
But you didn't. Why?
No, because I knew the backstory, so I had more information than the public had.
Yeah, but the statement is unambiguous. The statement had no clarification. It was unambiguous. It was clear.
Yeah, and then when he clarified, when he did try to clarify it, nobody paid attention. So can I ask you, why did you try to book Harley Pasternak after you saw what he tweeted to Kanye?
No, I booked Kanye himself, and I interviewed him for 2 hours.
Yeah, but were you interested? That was thereafter when he showed.
All right, enough of that. I think that we can all agree that Candace Owens hates Jews, but she's very, very careful, and she's very, very good at basically slipping through the cracks with her words. She'll never outright say that she hates Jews, but she hates Jews. She hates Israel. She hasn't really presented any facts other than the emotional argument of, the Israel is committing a genocide and all this stuff with the Palestinians, when in reality they've done everything to prevent committing a genocide. But other than that, with the anti-Semitism side, she definitely was either wronged by Jews or something happened to her with Jews. But yeah. So for more, go to JewishUncensored.com and subscribe to @JewishUncensored. Subscribe to the channel. And finally, also, if you want to help us make more of these videos, go to buymeacoffee.com/JewishUncensored. Let me know in the comments if you think that Candace Owens is an anti-Semite.